Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim wa bihi nasta'een. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Everybody, how are you doing? We're here in the woods today. It's raining. I've got a plastic bag over my camera. So let's talk about something, inshallah. I wanted to share some reflections I have of the dawah sphere. And by dawah sphere, I mean any and all individuals, organizations, denominations that are involved in giving da'wah, involved in Islamic teaching, Islamic services, mostly here in the West, okay? And I've not been in it for very long. I've only been in it for maybe a few years. I'm a young guy. I'm 26 and I got into the game kind of late. So, I wanted to share my observations so far, how I've come to see things, how the da'wah sphere sees itself. I think these are important questions because at the end of the day, many Muslims turn to the Islamic figures and influencers online and the services that they provide as an answer in these trying times. You know, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening to the Ummah for the past century. People look to stupid content creators like me for answers, because at the end of the day, we live in a cyber age, an age of democratized information. Anybody can go on the internet and look up Muhammad Hijab, look up Yasir Qadi, look up Umar Sulaiman, take their courses, take NAC's Arabic journey or whatever it's called, and we should always have like a critical mindset toward all of it. Not to be the kind of complainer who just sits and picks at people's mistakes. No. This is only the kind of criticism which that I would like to offer that would move the da'wah sphere forward. That would kind of push the envelope and give people, a real sense of direction in terms of I think everybody can improve upon, including myself. So I'll just get started without further ado, and definitely there are many great things about the da'wah sphere. I'll mention one great thing before I continue. I do think that the da'wah sphere has really been able to level up Islamic intellectualism in the past, let's call 10, 20 years. I think that a young, smart Muslim who logs on and sees people like Muhammad Hijab, sees people like Abdullah Andalusi, I think they will find a home, they will find role models for Islamic intellectualism. So I think we're good there. But let me tell you where I don't think we're good. Da'wah. What is da'wah? Most people, their imagination of da'wah is you go to a Christian, you go to an atheist, you go to a Hindu, and you debate religions. Islam, the religion, versus Christianity, the religion. Or Islam, the religion, versus atheism, the non-belief in religions. And there's tons of content out there on this, and the ones who do debate Christians, atheists, Jews, they do a good job. They do a good job. The Muslims are always winning these debates, and I'm not just being biased, it's just objective fact. No one can really stand up to the Muslims from these people. But let's be very frank. It's kind of like, punching down. Let's call it what it is. Because, since when has Christianity been relevant? Since when has Hinduism been relevant? Since when has Judaism been relevant? These ideologies as ideologies are not relevant anymore in the 21st century. There are lots of people who ascribe themselves to these labels, but usually not out of some worldview or ideology, usually out of some kind of in-group identity based on culture or based on race, right? In the case of Hinduism and Judaism. Atheism, atheism used to be, I'll cut you some slack. Atheism was super relevant at the time of Richard Dawkins and the New Atheists. But even they're falling back now. Like Richard Dawkins came out as a cultural Christian, Ayaan Hirsi Ali came out as a Christian. We don't really, see much from the New Atheists anymore. most of the people who were involved in atheism discourse, they moved on to stuff like leftism and liberalism and LGBT rights and these kinds of domains. Why? Well, because those domains are infinitely more relevant than the past discussion, which was basically about these philosophical proofs about God's existence, which many people are past. I think many people do struggle with believing in God's existence, but I think God's existence has never been the crux of like what Islam is about. Definitely, it's something that does need to be addressed and does continue to need to be addressed. But, and like, let me kind of get to a point here. What we really need to be debating, what we really need to be showing is Islam versus the modern ideologies that dominate the minds of Muslims and non-Muslims alike today, that dominate the systems of Muslim lands and non-Muslim lands alike today. Those ideologies are capitalism and liberalism and feminism. And I'm not saying there's no work done there, but tell me, when was the last time you saw somebody who debated the Islamic economic system versus the capitalist economic system and showed the gaps in the capitalist economic system, how it leads to races to the bottom and coordination problems, how the Islamic economic system, because it is a divine system, accounts for all the inefficiencies that come about when men disagree on laws and start coming up with loopholes. And what is the value of an unchanging economic doctrine that came 1400 years ago, and let's evaluate it. I think those kinds of questions we're not hearing enough of. And because we're not, Islam is not being situated as a system alternative to the existing systems of today. And that's what I would like to see more of. I don't know how close I should be standing to the camera because my viewfinder is messed up because of the plastic bag. I'll stand back a little bit more. So that's number one. The first problem I see, Islam should not be treated as a religion like all these other religions. Rather, we need to treat Islam like a political system and face it off against other political systems, which I don't think is being done enough. So this is a gap, okay? Not that the other work is wrong, it's just that this work needs to be emphasized. And I hope to try to be a change in that direction. If anybody wants to debate me, from the secularists, from the capitalists, let's debate how human beings should govern themselves, how we should structure our societies. Should God be in the picture or not? Should God be the king or not? That's the debate that we need to be having from now until the Muslim mind wakes up. And wakes up to this idea and becomes convinced of it, really. Right? I would only like to debate non-Muslims just to convince Muslims, right? I mean, that's pretty much the whole concept behind going and debating Christians and atheists anyway. Really, I think the real audience for all those videos, rightfully so, is the Muslim audience that needs to be convinced by seeing the Islamic ideas pitted against kufr. Well, let's pit it against the kufr that's actually relevant to today. I don't know many Muslims converted to Christianity, but we all know how many Muslims are converting to liberalism, whether they realize it or not. So that's the one. Another one that I see, and this one needs no introduction, sectarianism. Sectarianism has run amok. I think most of my viewers would know what's going on between Daniel Haqiqa Jew and Jake. To be honest, I stopped paying attention to it. I stopped keeping track of it for months now. I think it's about istighatha now and Shia stuff. But if you just look at the level of discourse between them, like you would almost assume they're treated, each other is an Islamophobe. Like that's the level of rabidity, I don't know if that's the word, rabidness, that they're treating each other with. It's ridiculous. And it's not like they're an aberration either. I just use them because it's been a prolonged conflict which has gotten very nasty. But there's other ones that get very nasty too, right? So like we see what happens between the Salafis and the Ash'aris, and I've made videos about that. Like the sectarian infighting does not look good. It doesn't look good to the non-Muslims, and most importantly, or more importantly, it doesn't look good to our own people, to our own audience. We lose respect. Islam ceases to be in people's minds a force of unity. It starts to become a force of division. It's something like when you become a Muslim, okay, you gain 1,000 new enemies because there's 1,000 new sects that will all consider you a heretic. So we need to kind of put a clamper down on that, I think. Doesn't mean we can't disagree, just we need to disagree with respect and with civility and with the proper discourse befitting of a Muslim. People get so emotional, people get so rattled and attacked and feel like, you know, calm down. That's not the judgment day yet, yani. Problem number 3. And this problem is the mother of many other problems in the da'wah sphere. I think that many in the da'wah sphere, individuals and organizations alike, lack a grand long-term vision for their work. And I'm not assuming that. I've spoken both at the rank and file level and at the leadership level of these organizations. You know, there's not much thought out beyond the immediate activities of the organization or of the individual. You know, if an individual's job is debating Christians, you know, that's all he has on his mind. He doesn't link how is his organization's work to debate Christians, let's say. And I'm not even thinking of any organization right now, I'm just random example. You know, how does that link to what should come for the ummah next? Because all of us in the da'wah sphere, our goal ultimately should be the revival of this ummah, the re-establishment of Allah's deen, the supremacy of Islam, right? That should be any and all of our goals, and I'm sure it is. But most of us would not know how to link what we're doing right now to the ultimate objective. We wouldn't know how to link, like, let's say we're in A right now, so your A is debating Christians. If Z is Khilafah, you don't know how to link them, right? You don't know how you go from A to B to C to D. And I'm not expecting people to, like, you know, come out and give me all their plans. But people should have a plan. And I've spoken to leaders, you know, a leader of one very big organization. First of all, one of the best brothers I've ever met in my life. So nothing against him. But ask people this question. And it's a very telling question. Ask them, is the work that you're doing in the da'wah, do you see it as sunnah or do you see it as fard? Do you see it as if you stopped doing it, would you be a sinner? Or if you got busy, you got married, you got a job, whatever it is, and you got busy and you had to stop, then it's you know, you would miss out on this khair, but you wouldn't be sinning, right? So I asked him, and every time I've asked this question to people, you know, out there in the da'wah sphere, they've always told me, it's sunnah, I'm doing some khair. They don't consider the work that they're doing fard, which means, because we know that the work to establish Islam is fard, they don't consider their work to be in service of establishing Islam. Or perhaps they don't consider themselves, you know, culpable for establishing Islam. That would be one or the other, right? Either one is a problem. So I would like to see a future in which everyone in the da'wah sphere who's really working hard in an organized fashion with a long-term vision, knowing how to link A to B to C to D to E all the way to Z, and understands that the work that they're doing is obligatory because it is linked to that ultimate objective of re-establishing this kalima, which is something that unfortunately very few people have on their minds. I think many people, when it comes to khilafah, like their mentality is, we'll do some good here, they'll do some good there, everybody will do their kind of own good, and things will just kind of naturally accumulate over time, and you know, eventually the victory will happen bi-idhnillah. That's the kind of, and I would ask them, would you adopt that kind of mindset for a project that you're doing at work? Would you adopt that kind of mindset for really any other effect that you would try to create in the world? You know, it's silly to expect that something as big and complicated as a civilization would re-emerge due to the disconnected efforts that lack long-term vision of multiple different people. Definitely you need organization, definitely you need planning, definitely you need all of that kind of project management mindset, right? So it's not And I'm not even really saying that people need to be like Khilafah now. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there just needs to be long-term vision. And those are just some of the 3 things that I thought about in terms of where I think the da'wah sphere can go forward. And my feet are getting cold, so I'll end it for now. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.